All right. Let's take a deep dive into this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
By Dale Carnegie.
Yeah, by Dale Carnegie. It sold millions of copies.
Oh, yeah.
And people are still reading it, talking about it.
Absolutely.
Decades later.
Yeah.
Why? What makes this book so impactful?
I think one of the things is it's more than just, a guide to winning popularity contests, right?
Right.
It's really a deep dive into human psychology and the art of building relationships, meaningful relationships.
And it's interesting because Carnegie himself, he wasn't some born charmer.
Right. He really, he wasn't.
He was a farm boy from Missouri.
That's right.
And, I think really honed his skills through teaching public speaking.
Yeah. And he discovered that success wasn't just about, technical skills. It was about connecting with people, understanding their motivations, and inspiring them to action.
It's like that saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I feel like Carnegie's book is all about bridging that gap.
It is. Exactly. And one of the most powerful principles that he emphasizes is the importance of understanding human nature.
Yeah.
That's where his first section comes in.
Okay.
It's called Fundamental Techniques in Handling People.
All right. So let's talk about some of these fundamental techniques. What does he kick it off with?
Well, he kicks it off with something that seems a little counterintuitive.
Okay.
Which is, don't criticize, condemn, or complain.
That is really hard.
It is.
Yeah, I'll do.
It is. And it's so easy to fall into that trap, right? Where you see something wrong and your instinct is to point it out.
Right.
But Carnegie argues that criticism, it rarely leads to positive change. Instead, it often triggers, defensiveness, resentment, makes the person less likely to actually change their behavior.
All right. They just get defensive.
They just shut down.
Yeah.
And he illustrates this with a story that I think is really powerful. It's the story of Crowley the Killer.
Crowley the Killer.
And this was a hardened criminal.
Yeah.
Who most people considered, beyond redemption.
Yeah.
The warden of Sing Sing prison, his name was Lewis Laws.
Okay.
He decided to try a different approach.
Okay.
Instead of focusing on all of Crowley's crimes, he actually treated him with respect and acknowledged his good qualities.
Wow. Interesting.
And what was the result? Crowley, who had always been so defiant and hostile, he was moved by the warden's kindness, and he began to reform his behavior.
It's so powerful how simple acts of kindness and respect can really change someone's behavior.
It really is. And what's fascinating here is that this wasn't about condoning Crowley's actions, or it was about recognizing that even the toughest criminals, they have a human side.
Yeah.
And appealing to that side can be far more effective than just condemnation.
Recognizing their humanity.
It is.
Yeah. It makes you wonder how many conflicts could be avoided if we all applied this in our own lives.
I think about that all the time.
Like those frustrating encounters with colleagues, family, or even, online.
Oh, especially online?
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
Instead of just criticizing, what if we focused on, finding common ground, expressing our needs constructively?
It's a powerful shift in mindset, and it's not about ignoring problems or being a pushover.
Right.
It's about approaching situations with more empathy and understanding.
Yeah. Okay, so that's don't criticize, condemn, or complain. He also shares the story of the little boy with the yellow cur.
Yes.
Who's mistreating his dog.
Yeah.
Instead of scolding the boy, a bystander just expresses sincere admiration for the dog.
Right.
Pointing out its positive qualities.
Yeah.
And the boy's behavior completely changes.
Completely changes.
He starts treating the dog with care and affection.
I love that story.
It just highlights how genuine appreciation can be such a powerful motivator.
Absolutely.
More than punishment or criticism.
Yeah.
It's that desire to be seen and valued.
It is, for our good qualities.
For our good qualities.
Yeah.
Even if we don't always express them.
Right. And that speaks to everyone, right?
It does. We all want that.
Yeah.
We all want to feel appreciated.
It's like watering a plant instead of trying to force it to grow.
That's a great analogy.
By focusing on the positive, you create an environment that nurtures growth and transformation.
Absolutely. And it's not just about avoiding negativity. It's about actively seeking out the good, in people, in situations.
Yeah.
It's about reframing our perspective and choosing to focus on strengths rather than weaknesses.
I love that.
And believing in people's potential to grow.
Yeah. Like turning up the volume on the good and turning down the volume on the bad.
Exactly. And by doing that, we not only create a more positive environment for ourselves, but we also inspire those around us to be their best selves.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we talked about appreciation and avoiding criticism. How do we actually get people to like us?
Right.
Carnegie has a whole section about this.
6 ways to make people like you.
6 ways.
So let's dive into those. What's number 1?
Well, he starts with something, again, that's so simple,
Go ahead.
Yet I think often overlooked. Become genuinely interested in other people. It's so easy to get caught up in our own worlds, our thoughts, our concerns.
Right.
But Carnegie reminds us that the key to building those relationships is to actually step outside of ourselves, show a genuine interest in others.
And it's not just about pretending to care, right? It's like really cultivating that curiosity, asking thoughtful questions.
Absolutely.
And really, truly listening.
Truly listen.
To what the other person has to say. My grandmother used to say, you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you.
Oh, I love that.
It sounds like Carnegie was on the same wavelength.
Yeah, he totally was. And he backs this up with some pretty compelling examples, like the story of William B. Steinkrat, who made a conscious effort to smile at his wife twice a day.
Twice a day?
Yeah.
That seems so simple.
It does. It might seem that way, but think about it. In the hustle and bustle of life, it's so easy to forget those small gestures of affection. Steinkrat found that simply making eye contact and smiling at his wife twice a day really had a profound impact on their relationship.
It's reminding us that the smallest things can have the biggest impact.
They can.
When it comes to relationships and showing someone you care. And speaking of smiles, Carnegie also talks about the power of a genuine smile in general.
Yes. A smile, it's like a universal language of goodwill.
Right.
It can instantly brighten someone's day, make them feel more connected to you. Have you ever, received a genuine smile from someone and felt worse after that?
No, never.
No.
It's like contagious.
It is.
In the good way.
In the best way possible.
It just breaks down barriers.
It does.
Makes people feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Creates that positive first impression.
Absolutely.
Okay, so genuine interest. Smiling. What's next?
Next is, remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language.
Oh, I am terrible with names.
Yeah.
But I know how good it feels when someone remembers my name.
Yes.
It's like, oh, you see me.
You matter.
Yeah.
Exactly. Using someone's name shows that you've taken the time to remember them.
Right.
That they're important enough to you to stand out in your mind.
You get that respect.
Yes. It's a subtle but very powerful form of respect. And Carnegie doesn't just tell us to do this. He gives us practical tips.
Oh, does he?
Yeah. On how to improve our name recall. So things like associating names with vivid images.
Okay.
Or repeating the name several times during a conversation. Anything to kind of help cement it in your mind.
Create those mental hooks.
Yeah, create those mental hooks to hang that name on.
I like that. All right, what else do we have?
Okay, next. Be a good listener. Encourage others to talk about themselves, which in today's world of constant distractions and self-promotion feels more important than ever.
So true. So true. It's so easy to get caught up in our own thoughts and our own agendas.
Yeah.
That we forget to just be present and listen.
And really listen.
Truly listen to what other people are saying.
And it's more than just being polite.
Yeah.
It's about showing empathy. Validating the other person's feelings, making them feel heard and understood. And when you do that, you create this foundation of trust and connection that allows for deeper, more meaningful conversations.
And you might even discover, I don't know, shared interests.
Yeah.
New perspectives.
Absolutely.
Things you never even thought about before. And that leads perfectly into Carnegie's next principle.
Yeah.
Talk in terms of the other person's interests.
Yes. Shifting the focus from ourselves.
To the other person.
To the other person.
Yeah.
Finding that common ground.
Yeah. Exploring their passions.
Engaging in those conversations that are truly meaningful to them.
And this doesn't mean we have to be experts on everything.
No, not all.
Right.
No.
It's more about that curiosity.
Yes.
And willingness to learn from the other person.
Exactly. Remember that story that Carnegie shared about the man who rented a grand ballroom for his dog?
Wait. He rented a ballroom for his dog.
He did. He did. And it worked because he knew that the person he was trying to impress was a dog enthusiast.
Okay.
So by tapping into that shared interest, he was able to build rapport, open the door for a successful business relationship.
That's a pretty extreme example, but I think it illustrates the point beautifully.
It does.
Like finding those shared interests, it really creates that connection.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the last one?
The last one is make the other person feel important and do it sincerely. And I feel like this ties everything together.
It does.
You know, it's about recognizing the inherent worth in every single person, treating them with respect and appreciation, making them feel seen, heard, and valued. And it's not about flattery or manipulation. Wow. It's about genuinely acknowledging their strengths, contributions, and uniqueness.
It's about making them feel like they matter.
They matter.
Yeah. What stands out to you most from this section?
I think for me, it's the emphasis on sincerity. Because none of these techniques will work if they're not genuine.
People can spot a fake.
They can, a mile away.
Yeah.
You know? So it's really about approaching all of these interactions with a spirit of generosity and a genuine desire to connect, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious, for you listening, what are some ways that you can show genuine interest in others? Think about your daily interactions at work, in your social circles. What are some things that you can do to show people you care?
Yeah, maybe something as simple as remembering a colleague's birthday, actively listening during a conversation, or asking thoughtful questions about someone's hobbies or passions.
Right. Little things go a long way.
They do, and you never know what kind of positive ripple effect they might have.
All right, so let's move into the territory of persuasion.
Okay.
Carnegie's next section is all about 12 ways to win people to your way of thinking.
That's a good one.
But I think before we even dive into these 12 ways, it's important to address, like, the elephant in the room here.
Okay.
We're not talking about manipulation.
Right.
Or, like, using sneaky tactics to get what you want.
No, not at all.
Right. This section is about effective communication. It's about understanding how to present your ideas in a way that resonates with others.
Yeah.
And ultimately building consensus.
Absolutely.
And, you know, the first principle he kicks off with is so relevant in today's world.
What's that?
The only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it.
To avoid it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like everywhere we turn, there's conflict and division. Everyone's got an opinion.
Everyone's an expert.
Everyone's an expert.
Right.
And they're ready to fight for it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's so easy to fall into that trap of wanting to win.
Oh, totally.
Even if it means damaging relationships.
Yeah. Yes.
But Carnegie makes a really compelling case for why that's rarely a true victory.
Yeah. What does he say?
He says that winning an argument, it often comes at the expense of goodwill and understanding.
Right.
Like, it might feel good in the moment to, like, prove someone wrong, but in the long run, it can erode trust and create resentment.
Absolutely.
So instead of trying to win every argument, he suggests focusing on finding common ground, acknowledging the validity of the other person's perspective, working towards a solution that benefits both parties.
I like that. So it's collaboration.
Collaboration.
Not combat.
Exactly. And, you know, even if you are convinced you're right, sometimes the best course of action is just admit you're wrong.
Just admit it.
Quickly, emphatically.
Yeah. Which takes a lot of humility.
A lot of humility.
Yeah.
But it can be so disarming.
It really can.
Like, he tells this great story about a mounted policeman who was about to give this driver a ticket for a traffic violation. But before he could even start writing it up, the driver just takes full responsibility for his actions, apologizes, and even compliments the officer.
Wow. So the driver basically talked himself out of the ticket.
He did.
By admitting fault.
And it wasn't through trickery.
Yeah.
Right? Or manipulation. It was through, like, genuine humility.
Yeah.
And a willingness to admit his mistake. And the officer was so taken aback by his sincerity that he just let him go.
I love that.
It just shows how powerful that is.
Yeah.
It just completely shifts the energy of the interaction.
Yeah, it diffuses the tension.
Totally. And it creates space for understanding.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what's another principle?
Another one is begin in a friendly way. Again, this seems obvious.
Yeah.
But, you know, think about how often we launch into conversations with accusations or complaints.
Especially when we're stressed.
Especially. Or frustrated.
Yeah.
You know? Our emotions dictate our tone.
Yes.
But starting a conversation with a friendly and respectful tone sets such a positive foundation.
Right.
You know? It's like inviting someone into a conversation as opposed to, you know, attacking them.
It sets the stage for collaboration.
Exactly.
Right.
And Carnegie also suggests getting the other person saying, yes, yes, immediately.
What does he mean by that?
So he's talking about finding areas of agreement early on in the conversation.
Okay.
So by getting the other person nodding along, you create this sense of momentum, and it makes them more receptive to your ideas.
So starting with like shared values.
Yes, goals.
Common ground. Before you dive into those trickier areas.
Exactly, where you might disagree. And once you've established that common ground, it's easier to navigate those areas with respect and understanding.
Okay, what's another one of these principles?
Another one is to let the other person do a great deal of the talking.
I struggle with this one.
It's a common one to struggle with, I think.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in wanting to share your own thoughts.
Yes.
But when we dominate the conversation, we miss out on valuable insights and perspectives.
Absolutely.
And when people feel heard, they're more likely to be open to our perspective as well.
We have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
That's right.
Right? And by listening attentively, we actually gain valuable information about the other person's thoughts, feelings, motivations, and you might even discover common ground that you didn't know existed.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what else?
Another principle that I think is really important is to try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view. To step outside of our own biases and perspectives, make a genuine effort to understand their world.
To walk a mile in their shoes.
Yes, exactly. And, he tells a story about a man who wanted to build a bigger barn for his cows.
Oh, okay.
His neighbor was initially opposed to the idea.
Okay.
But instead of arguing with his neighbor, he actually asked him for advice. Oh, interesting.
On how to improve the barn's design.
So he turned a conflict into an opportunity for collaboration.
He did. And by taking a genuine interest in his neighbor's perspective and expertise, he was able to win him over to the idea.
I love that.
It's a reminder that, empathy and understanding can really bridge those divides.
Absolutely. All right. Anything else on this list?
The last one on the list is dramatize your ideas. And this isn't about being theatrical or over the top.
No.
It's about presenting your ideas in a way that's engaging, memorable, emotionally resonant.
Okay.
He gives the example of Napoleon, who was a master at inspiring his troops by appealing to their emotions and aspirations. As he used vivid imagery, storytelling, a little bit of showmanship
to get them excited,
to ignite their passion and their loyalty. And so, I think it's about finding those creative ways to make your ideas come alive, to connect with people on a deeper level.
Yeah. Whether it's using anecdotes or metaphors, visual aids, the key is to make that message stick.
Yeah. So from everything we've discussed today, what stands out to you as the biggest takeaway?
I think for me, it's the power of respect. I think every principle in this section really hinges on treating the other person with dignity, listening to their perspective, and acknowledging their worth.
It's about building bridges instead of walls.
Oh, it is.
Right.
It is.
And, recognizing that even when we disagree, we can still engage in, respectful dialogue, find common ground. And that's essential, not just for winning people to our way of thinking, but for building strong, lasting relationships.
Absolutely.
All right, so Carnegie's last section, it's all about leadership.
Yeah.
Be a leader.
Yeah.
9 ways to change people without arousing resentment. This is about taking all those principles of persuasion and applying them to motivating and inspiring others.
Absolutely.
And it starts with a principle that's, I think, close to Carnegie's heart. Begin with praise and honest appreciation.
Such a good one.
I mean, too often we focus on, correcting mistakes or pointing out flaws. But starting with genuine praise, it can be so much more effective.
So much more effective.
Right. It's about recognizing people's strengths.
No.
Their efforts.
Yeah.
Making them feel valued, appreciated.
Yes.
And it sets a positive tone. It creates a more receptive environment for feedback.
He shares a great story about a janitor who transformed his entire performance after receiving some sincere appreciation from his manager.
I love that.
It's a good reminder that a little bit of praise can go a long way.
It really can.
Yeah.
And even when you do need to address a mistake, Carnegie suggests doing it indirectly.
Yeah.
So instead of pointing fingers or blaming,
Yeah.
it's about finding subtle ways to guide someone toward improvement.
Right.
He gives this example of a manager who noticed his employee making a mistake.
Okay.
But instead of criticizing him directly, He just casually mentioned that he himself used to make the same mistake.
Oh.
Until he discovered a better way.
Nice.
Right? So leading by example, offering guidance in a way that's both supportive and constructive.
I like that.
And when addressing a mistake, Carnegie also talks about the importance of talking about your own mistakes.
Yes.
Before you criticize someone else.
Show a little humility.
Humility.
Yes.
It's like saying, hey, we all make mistakes. I'm not perfect either.
I'm right there with you.
Exactly. And that just helps the other person feel more comfortable acknowledging their own errors and working towards improvement.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anything else?
Another principle is ask questions instead of giving direct orders. This empowers the other person, encourages them to take ownership.
Right.
So it's about fostering that collaboration rather than a dictatorship.
It's about inviting them to be part of the solution.
Exactly.
Versus just telling them what to do.
Yeah.
And when you do need to give instructions, Carnegie suggests making the fault seem easy to correct.
Right.
So framing it in a positive light.
Yes. Focusing on the solution rather than dwelling on the problem.
He shares an anecdote about this young woman who was making a lot of typing errors.
Okay.
Instead of berating her, her supervisor just pointed out that a lot of skilled typists have struggled with the same thing in the beginning.
Right.
And offered some helpful tips.
So making it seem like a common and correctable error.
Yeah. And that just helped boost her confidence.
Totally.
And helped her improve.
Encouragement goes a long way.
It really does.
It does.
Okay, what's the last principle in this section?
Make the other person happy about doing the thing you suggest.
So how do we do that?
So this is about aligning your suggestions with their goals and aspirations.
Okay.
It's about finding ways to make them feel invested in the outcome.
Right.
And see the benefits for themselves. So it's not about forcing your will on others. It's about working together.
To achieve that shared vision.
Exactly. And I think that's the essence of true leadership.
Yeah.
Inspiring, motivating others.
Creating that unity.
Fostering that sense of unity and purpose.
Wow. We've covered so much today.
We have.
From handling people to winning them over to your way of thinking to leadership.
Yeah.
It's amazing how relevant Carnegie's principles are, even today, almost a century later.
It's a testament to his understanding of human nature, I think.
Yeah.
And I think these principles are timeless because they tap into our fundamental needs.
Right.
For connection, respect, and understanding.
Dale Carnegie himself said, the greatest good we can do for others is not to share our riches with them, but to reveal theirs.
Powerful.
I love that. It really speaks to that power of human connection. And when we focus on bringing out the best in others, we not only enrich their lives, but our own as well.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into how to win friends and influence people, I have one final challenge for you. What is one principle from this book that you're going to try applying in your own life? Think about it. Choose one. Commit to it. And see how it transforms your interactions and relationships. And remember, the power to build meaningful relationships is within reach for all of us. Until next time, keep diving deep, keep learning, and keep connecting with the world around you.
Beautiful.